Okay, we're now recording.
Good afternoon, and my name is Everald Henry. I will be chairing the Committee for Social Justice Committee Town of Amherst meeting for July 9th, 2025. The chair notes the time is 6:30 p.m. I do call this meeting to order. Pursuant to the Acts of 2021, extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 through 2027, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to observe this meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. This meeting has been duly advertised as required by law. All hearings and meetings are open to the public and are recorded by town staff and may be viewed via the Town of Amherst's YouTube channel and ZBA webpage. I will start with a call of the roll. Lizette Paredes, and forgive me if I butcher your name.
It's okay. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Erica Piedadi,
Piedad
Piedad,
here.
and absent tonight is Deb Figueroa and Allegra Clark. Also present tonight is Ms. Pamela Young for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Town of Amherst, and Ms. Camille Thuracue, our Director of CRESS. The agenda for tonight is as follows. We'll do announcements. We'll review and approve any meeting minutes. We'll do member reports, public comments, CRESS and DEI updates, Resident Oversight Board, Youth Empowerment Center, retreat update, meeting with Town Council, public comments, and any items not anticipated within the last 24 hours. We do have, these are standard items, but that does not necessarily mean that we will go full agenda if there is no update. We will skip when we have full members here. So I will start with, are there any announcements? I see Erica has her hand up.
Yes, I wanted to let everybody know that papers for running for town council are available now as of July, and they can be received from the town clerk's office. And that said, this is possibly an agenda item for the future. We should think about maybe 2 to 3 questions that we want to ask anyone who runs regarding the support for DEI, CRESS, and the mission that we have in terms of eliminating structural racism here in Amherst and through all of the institutions in Amherst. So something to think about for the future. A second announcement is that the charter of Amherst is being reviewed. And I think it's the final public listening session is going to be on Wednesday, July 23rd at 7 p.m. But you can also submit public comments. That charter review really is the governance document of how government operates here in Amherst, including the budget, which we've had some concerns about. Definitely if you can't make the session, then we should consider submitting our own comments regarding that. And then finally, I'm just going to say it here, even though we're going to talk about the updates regarding the treat. We decided on a quarterly meeting. And our next quarterly in-person meeting is going to be on September 13th, again from 9 to 1, and we'll continue our getting to know each other and our conversations about the mission and goals of this committee. So that's it.
Thank you, Erica. And if I may ask a couple questions, the charter, do we know what's being changed or what's being proposed to be changed?
That I don't know, but I think they want to know what the community thinks should be changed. I'm not sure that it's gotten to that point yet, but I have a link from the town website that I'll send to all of us here, as well as Allegra and Deborah.
I would appreciate that because this is actually the first time I'm hearing about that the charter being looked at. Okay. Are there any other announcements? So I think we have minutes for review and approval. And the first minutes are dated May 14th, 2025. And I reviewed and I don't have any amendments to make. If anyone does, I'm sorry, Ms. Young has her hand up.
Yeah, since you don't have a quorum, I'm not sure that you can take a vote to approve the minutes.
So, and that's that's very interesting because I know that, and maybe this is a conversation for somewhere else. You know, the body is supposed to be 7. We have not had 7 for a while, so maybe there's a conversation to be had of having the body be 5 with alternates. And so something to look into. But thank you, Ms. Young, for that. And so given that there isn't a quorum present, I suggest I'm sorry, Erica has her hand up, but I would suggest we tailor the minutes approval for when we have all 5 of us.
So I just wanted to state that I believe that we actually approved the May minutes with the corrections that we had talked about, but I may be wrong. But I do agree with Pamela that without Allegra and Deborah, at this point, we can't vote on at least the June minutes. But I think what you just stated, Everald, we should look into to see if there is a way of changing what's quorum, since we seem to be consistently only 5 at meetings.
And with the minutes tabled onto the next meeting, are there any member reports?
The only report I have is I was able to go to the budget meeting, and we know the result of that. The budget was actually approved with a lot of what I would believe discontent from those of us who came to support Cress. But what I want to state is that I did have the opportunity to talk to some of the town council members about us coming to a meeting, and that some of the questions they actually had, I stayed for the discussion, and some of the questions they actually had, we could have answered them if they had allowed us to come to the meeting. So I think we really need to somehow find a way to possibly get on their agenda way before the budget discussion starts, but to provide updates and if there are any questions they have with regards to the work that we're doing, as well as the work we do with Cress and with DEI, then it's an opportunity for them to hear from our committee members versus I think what I heard was some bias in terms of how some things were presented by what I consider the police department in terms of possibly not the need for Cress, and not understanding that Cress is very different. It is an alternative and a diversion program, and that it actually is going to be much more effective and efficient and reduces the caseload for APD as well as the fire department. So I just think we just got to keep on pushing to get on the town council, and possibly maybe getting a set time twice a year, if not 3 times a year, but definitely before the budget process starts.
And I do agree. And I know we're going to get to that in our retreat update, but that was part of the conversation at our retreat, is to, strategize as to how we can be more vocally effective and prior to these looming deadlines. And so, yes, I think I agree with you. More so now than ever, we need to have the town council fully appreciate and understand what Cress is, what we as a committee does, and the benefits of Cress to the community as a whole. And of course, as I've always said, the intent here is not to take away from APD. It's to find a balance for Cress and APD. And we can do that. I think we can effectively do so where all parties benefit. And I think everyone should fully appreciate and understand that again, this committee does not seek to abolish APD, or the goal here is to make CRESS as successful as APD is, and we can do so without anyone feeling like their department is losing something. And so with that said, if there are no other member reports, and I am not sure if we have members of the public, but this would be our first public comment section, where residents are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes at the discretion of the chair, based upon the number of people who wish to speak. No speaker can cede their time to another speaker, and the committee will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during public comment. So any members of the public who are here and wish to speak, you may do so by pushing the raise hand button. And if you are dialing in, I believe it is *9 on your telephone. And because I cannot see anyone, Camille, I'm relying on your expertise here to see if there's anyone who wishes to speak.
Okay, just to let you know, I've made you a co-host, so you should be able to see.
Okay. So I think we only have,
2
I
people.
do not see that there are any members of the public who wish to speak. And so we will have a second public comment portion further on in the meeting, but with no one currently here, we can press ahead. And at this point, I will ask Ms. Young for DEI updates.
So we don't have a lot to report because we're sort of winding down at the end of the fiscal year, but the department has completed all of their departmental trainings. So for the major departments, police, fire, Jones Library, we've conducted specialized or individualized departmental trainings. And then we combined rec and the Bangs Center or rec with town hall so that all departments, and DPW was separate as well. All departments have had specific departmental workshops or trainings. We completed our work with Dr. Barbara Love, and her full liberatory visioning report can be found on our website. The department has been involved in the town's hazardous implementation planning group. Philip has been attending those meetings and has been providing insight into the implementation plans and thinking about how they might impact the broader community. We had our first Amherst Pride Parade, which was just a fantastic day. In spite of, I can't remember whether it was the Gazette reported like 300 people, but everyone who was there, including myself and Philip and the fire department chief, placed the estimate at closer to 1,000 people who attended that event, who participated in the parade, and the vendors and some entertainment. So it was a really beautiful day, warm and sunny, and folks were just fantastic. So I think those pictures are available on our website as well. We were co-sponsors with South Church for the annual reading of the Frederick Douglass essay, What to the Slave is the 4th of July, and then members of the CRESS department and DEI department acted as facilitators for conversations that followed that reading. It was well attended with lots of different voices. I think there were a total of over 40 readers. What my feedback will be to the organizers is a hope that we can involve more members of the BIPOC community and more youth. There were 3 readers who were under the age of like 18, and it would be nice to have additional youth. The text itself is very formal. And so one suggestion, I mean, I'd love to find a graduate student who would be interested in this. One suggestion would be for someone to write a modern translation that would be easier for younger people to read because they struggle with the language. It's written, in the 18th century, so the language can be a bit of a challenge, but it was a really wonderful event and well attended. The department is finalizing an annual report to report on all of the work that we've done this year. It's just been an incredible year with Philip. I can't sing his praises enough. And I sent over our final draft to our communications director this afternoon for her input. But once that's finalized, that will be available on our website as well. On July 16th, we have a raising of the Disability Pride Month flag and then a Disability Pride Month event that's being sponsored by the Commission for Persons with Disabilities. That film will be shown, which is a documentary entitled The Ride Ahead, and that will be at 5 p.m. in the Bangs Community Center. And then, as Erica's already stated, on July 23rd, there's going to be a charter listening session, and that will be at 7 p.m. in the Bangs Community Center. I would like to continue and address the Resident Oversight Board and Youth Empowerment, which are 8 and 9 on your agenda as well. So the Resident Oversight Board, which the DEI department has been sort of shepherding through, the consultants have finished the first stage of their work with the stakeholder group. A report has gone to the town manager. The town manager's scheduled to review that report and to consult with town general counsel or legal counsel. And then we'll make a recommendation to town council about moving forward. But the DEI department has completed the work that we needed to do for this stage of the process. Once a decision is made regarding the type of resident oversight board that the town council will support, then the consultants are engaged to do or to conduct or facilitate training for the original or initial members of that resident oversight board. So we're at a pause until the recommendation moves from the town manager's office through legal counsel to town council. But the stakeholder group work has been completed. And I do believe that their final or both reports I'm not sure if they've been made public or not, because I think they're awaiting legal counsel review, but their work has been done. And then finally, for the Youth Empowerment Center, the DEI department has not been charged with working specifically on the development of a plan for the center, but as you know, we have been hosting some youth empowerment events, most notably at the Amherst Global Village Festival and then a Know Your Rights. It will be our plan we did 2 events or 2 series last year. Our hope is that we'll increase that to 3, possibly 4, if we try for 1 per quarter for this fiscal year. But those activities will not take place until probably September or October. Philip and I are really trying to take a pause now that we've made it through most of our events, the last one coming up on July 16th. And we've sort of stated publicly that we're not hosting any events in August. We're going to take that time to really finalize our planning for the remainder of the fiscal year and to just strategize about what we're able to accomplish and take on. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And yeah.
I do. But Erica, you can go first.
Thank you, Everald. So I've taken a look at the report that Dr. Love put together, which is pretty extensive and pretty comprehensive. So my question is, who is going to be responsible for ensuring the implementation of that report, which includes the support of CRESS and includes the support of our committee and reparations committee? I think it's really important, and I'm sure there's hopefully a plan that that report goes to all town council members as well as to the town manager. But it should also, I think it needs to be made more than just be put on the town website. I think there should be some publicity or a press release with that as well, because I think it is a really, really important guiding stone that supports interlockingly our work with DEI, with CRESS, with the reparations committee that's going to be developed with ROB. So I suppose that's more of a comment than a question, but my question is that going to be given to all the town councilors?
So it will be the town manager's decision to distribute. It's generally my role as the department head to give it to the town manager, and from there he will decide when and where it goes to town council. As far as supporting the initiatives, what I found in the last 3 years is that if there is public outcry or support for specific initiatives and they rise to the level of town council and town council places it in the town manager's annual goals, then there will be movement. Without it being included directly in his annual goals, movement will be limited to what we're able to do within the department. And I think you all are aware that our operating budget for the department is $13,000. So there's not a lot that we can do.
So my second question, sorry, Everett, my second question, and I know Deborah would have asked this as well if she were here, or that's an assumption. Where will the when will the public have the ability to provide any recommendations or comments regarding the ROB? I know that there are two proposals, and they're very, very different. And one really is supported by, the community safety working committee, and the other one is what I've considered more watered down. Is there any place where the community can see what the legal counsel is proposing in order for us to have some input before town council makes a decision?
So I don't know if there will be for the community to have input before it's made public to town council. I think when the recommendation goes to town council is when the members of the public will have an opportunity to weigh in, either in support or in opposition to what's presented to town council. And quite frankly, I'm unsure whether both proposals will go to town council. Initially, that was the thinking, or whether one recommendation will be pushed forward by the town manager. I don't know. I can't predict whether he's leaning one way or the other. When we last spoke about the work, which was probably, I'm going to say, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the information that was given to me was that he was going to be meeting with legal counsel or forwarding the document to legal counsel, but I have not heard back from him.
Thank you, Pamela. And I do want to say, the DEI has done wonderful work. I've been able to attend some of the different events, and the last one was the Frederick Douglass reading. It was just amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Juneteenth was amazing. It was just really wonderful. I know Juneteenth was done by someone else, but Cress is there. Philip's always there. And I just really want to thank you for all your work and really ensuring that we're an inclusive community. I still have a lot of issues around the issue of equity, but we're definitely doing a lot of excellent work around ensuring that we have an inclusive community.
Thank you.
So in reference to the recommendations going to town manager and then he makes a decision which version goes to town council, I think there's some concern around that, because that means that Mr. Volkman gets to decide unilaterally which version gets adopted. I don't necessarily think that the community as a whole would benefit from him making that decision. He's not an elected official. And this is the resident oversight board is something that I think the people that are voted in needs to have an opportunity to say, here are the versions that went through this process that the town paid for and committed to, and members from different committees went to voice their opinions. And in the end result, they came up with two versions. And I think both versions should be presented to the town council and not town manager deciding which one should get presented. And I appreciate that that is not your decision, but on behalf of the committee here, I would ask that you take that back to the town manager's office. Mhm.
Sure, and initially, because the resident oversight board stakeholders group really struggled over, I would say like maybe 3 or 4 points throughout the 4 months or 5 months that they worked. And so initially the conversation back from the town manager's office was that it, that he encouraged the group to present two different options if they could not come to consensus or agreement. So I think that's what his intention is, but I can't confirm what he's actually going to do. But it initially his intention was that that both versions will go. I think the reason why, and as a lawyer, you understand this, the reason why they haven't gone to the town council now is that he's waiting for legal opinion for what would be pros and cons for both or either of the options, so that the full picture is presented. So it's my belief that that's likely to happen, but I ultimately it's going to be his decision about what's presented or not presented. But I can certainly report back to him that this group, and I think others as well, feel very strongly that both options should be presented to council.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that even though DEI is not involved in the Youth Empowerment Center, and I want to ask you who is managing that. You mentioned there's DEI hosts some events, and you mentioned Know Your Rights. When does that happen, and how can you talk about that event or those events?
Sure. So it is still my belief that Ray Harp, who's the recreation director, is supposed to be working with a group to take the lead on a youth empowerment center. Although there's been no discussion of it lately, so I don't know. But the last time the leadership was discussed, it was that Ray was going to be responsible for taking the lead on those plans. What DEI has stated and will continue to try to do is to provide some programming. And we've done some in conjunction with REC and some in conjunction with CRES. What we offered this year was this 5-week entrepreneurial series that ended with the Amherst Global Village and the participants having an opportunity to sell the products that they made at the Global Village. And we had 9 participants, 5 different businesses. There was a team of 4, and all of the businesses earned $100 or more. Some did really, really well, and they varied. We had a young woman who wrote a book and sold her book and some other things. We had lots of arts, lots of paintings. We had one young person who had a variety of like seed kits and artwork. We had dream catchers, so just a variety of things that they made and sold. And in the weeks leading up to the Amherst Global Village, each week they had a theme. So the programming started with the owners of Carefree Cakery and the White Lion coming in and talking to them about how they got their start in business and just, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur. And then with the assistance of our AmeriCorps member, they created a brand and a logo and a little did the design for their poster. So just each of those sort of major key points that you would need to touch on to go from concept to product. And with some of the younger ones, getting them to understand that you need to produce a lot of product and if you want to make a lot of money, it was a challenge, but it was a very fun experience. And then that was followed by two workshops that we partnered with the Crest Department to hold. I don't know if Camille, if you're going to remember the organization. I'm not sure if I remember, but it's a Boston-based nonprofit that spends a lot of their work, or the majority of their work, informing young people about their rights and having an understanding of the legal system. And so initially there were two events that were scheduled, and one was canceled for lack of interest, and the second one occurred, and they were done. We tried to make it attractive by having them in the evening with like a pizza party where you could either be in person with a pizza party or you could attend virtually online. So.
Thank you. And my other question around DEI, and maybe I misheard, but you said the DEI budget is $13,000. What does that mean?
That means that our entire operating budget, so any programming, any events, anything that we want to do, the money that we have to expend during the fiscal year is $13,500.
For an entire year, just $13,000.
That's it.
Mhm.
Okay.
So here's the tragedy. Because we knew that the Amherst Global Village was
That's not the
really-
tragedy. Yeah.
Well, no, there is a tragedy in this, which is that we knew that we did not know exactly how much the cost of that was going to be. And so we really stretched every penny because we wanted to be able to make sure that that event was going to be successful. And so during the course of the majority of the year, we probably spent less than $3,500 dollars, and really saving like the bulk of the budget for the Amherst Global Village in case we needed to be able to support that operation. We were able to fundraise and raised over $17,000 dollars for that event. So it paid for itself, and it made money. Some money is going into the Human Rights Commission Friends account. But because we didn't spend all of our money, that money went back to the town. And so, no good deed goes unpunished.
So in the millions of dollars of the town's annual budget, $13,500 is allocated for diversity, equity, and inclusion in that big budget every year.
Yes.
Okay. That is very, very problematic.
Yes.
Any more questions for Pamela? Thank you so much for your DEI update.
All right. And I will bid you guys adieu.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Camille, Cress.
Good evening. So some updates. Let's see, Chris, I also participate in the hazard mitigation plan. And also Chris was part of the Pride Parade. We tabled and we were able to, with the end of EAPS, purchase cupcakes from Carefree Cakery, a BIPOC-owned business. We also were part of the Frederick Douglass reading. And if anybody was at the July 3rd Independence Day celebration, I was the MC for it again. and Cress participated. We were assisting folks that had mobility issues. This year it worked better than last year. We still had the two-person golf carts, but we were able to work collaboratively with the senior center to get their senior van with the lift and get a driver for the evening. So that worked out wonderfully. The things that we're going to work on for next year about how we can make it easier at the end of the evening. It started as it rained, so it was pouring during part of it, so we got off a little later, but it was well received. People were very pleased. They were pleased to see Crest there to help out. We also, so I'm like checking off my list. The newsletter is out. It was part of the packet. Also, as part of the newsletter, we put the loose information in for to be able to, we set them up as cards that could be cut out for people. So all that information is in the newsletter. The last vet breakfast that we had over 50 people at, so that was the largest vet breakfast. We seem to be getting 30 people plus bi-monthly, the first and third Friday of the month. So that is very well received. There was also an article in the Gazette about it, along with Cress. And the last for the season, Crest Connections, was had at the middle school. And we had approximately, we had over 50 youth in two separate rooms. And they, again, were given a book for their own personal library, were read to, did a project, and this time we had a pizza party. It was the end of EAPS, the Equitable Approaches to Public Safety Grant, and that was over as of June 30th. Also, as you know, due to the budget cuts, we lost two positions with Cress, and also our implementation manager. So we are down to, right now we have 5 responders, myself, and the administrative assistant, Angel. The position is now online for Crest Responder, so I encourage people to apply. And we also, as of July 1st, the Qualtrics form has gone live. So we are figuring how to integrate that into our Crest website so that that information will be able to be seen at least weekly, and hopefully if it's done right, we can update it, or at least monthly, but update it on a regular basis. And lastly, Erica was part of it. With Tory Research, part of our grant was to get some information on the community. We held 3 deliberate engagement sessions. All of the Crest responders and our administrative assistant are trained in deliberate engagement. And that is a process where we come together, we ask a question, there's a facilitator, a note taker, a fact checker, and we go through, we ask a provocative and evocative question so that we can gather feedback, so we can get qualitative and quantitative data. So there were 3 sessions. The first session was held at Ann Whalen, I think, for elders. Okay, and that was during the day. The second session was the BIPOC community that was held at Ancestral Bridges. That is a beautiful space, and I encourage anyone and everyone to go there. It is an absolute beautiful space, and we were so lucky because, as you know, getting space in town is very difficult, and the Bridges family offered it up for us to use. And that worked out beautifully. There were approximately 8 people there who came. And also for the last one, was held at the Emmanuel Conception, the Emmanuel Lutheran Church, the ILC. And that one was on homelessness and housing insecurity. And Erica was there for that one also. That one was the most well attended. We had approximately 15 people there for that. And the questions were like one of the questions we had was Amherst believes that housing is a privilege and not a basic need. So, and that sparked a vibrant conversation with many people who are there who are unhoused. And then the other people who came are interested in housing insecurity, et cetera, in Amherst. So those 3 sessions were done, in conjunction with Tory Research and Cress. The information will be put through and analyzed, and we should be getting a report probably somewhere around the end of August, September, is the hope. So, and that should give a better idea of the thoughts of folks in Amherst. One of the things with the Crest Department being all trained in deliberate engagement is that after this now that I want to have at least, biannually, possibly quarterly, deliberate engagement sessions with the community that we will facilitate. As everyone knows, the EAPS grant ran out as of June 30th. So our budget is very lean now also. So a lot of the programs and things that we started, like Crest Connections and everything else, we're hoping to get some money again. There's talk of a possibility of some money coming through. And I also am actively looking at other grants. I've made some connections with the people that I met at the Alternatives to Policing conference that I went to at the beginning of June. So there are what's happening now is looking for private grants. So, and those are difficult to obtain also. And that is it for me.
So, I do have a question, but more of a comment. So I do know that private grants are going to be difficult, but if you watch the news, I mean, the billionaires Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they're actively trying to give away their money. So I know that, they have their different fields of focus, but that is thinking outside the box. I mean, here people with billions of dollars literally say our goal is to give it away. And I don't know, maybe try to see if there's any grant opportunities with the people who have publicly committed to giving away all their money.
So one of the grants that I looked into, a community grant, one of the issues that we have is that we are a municipality. And a lot of the grants are going to nonprofits and are not eligible for municipalities. So that really has limited us to where we can seek out grants.
Okay. My question on Cress, and I think you answered a lot of it, so it makes it easy for me to just only ask this one question. Your budget has been slashed and you're lean, but I believe you said that there is a position posted. So, but now you're 5, an admin and yourself. Did I mishear that? Are you hiring somebody else? How does that work? How is that
Hiring-
working?
We're hiring another Crest responder, so we will have 3 teams of 2.
Okay. Okay. All right. That was my question. So I wanted you to clarify if I heard correctly, ma'am. I think Erica has her hand up.
Yeah. So I that was my question too. So right now you're down to 5 responders, not 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So a couple of things. At the budget meeting, Lynn Grismer, the president of town council, stated that there was a request made with Joe Comerford, our senator, And I thought she had said 100,000, but I think she said a couple million, maybe 1 million for Amherst, 1 million for Northampton. We don't know. I don't know if that's gone through the budgets. It looks like it hasn't
It-
gone through.
So there was a request from Senator Comerford for $1 million total line item. And there is still hope that that will go through. However, there is, no guarantees. And as what happened previously with last year's budget, the budget was not approved until August, and the money did not come through until December. And then even though, like with the EAPS grant, the Department of Public Health that said, oh, you can start spending the money and accessing funds, etc. But the problem being is that in the town of Amherst, you cannot do anything until we have the funds in hand. So that really delayed everything that we were trying to do. And that also caused us that we weren't able to do many of the things, because by the time the money finally came, and with the process of putting out proposals, it's at least 6 weeks to 2 months to get anything even through. So now, having been here a year, some of those things now I understand and can prep for if these things look like they're coming down the pike.
That's great. Thank you. You're absolutely right. If you're a municipality, you're very limited to what you can get. I actually, after the budget discussion, looked at DOJ, because DOJ was one of the biggest funders for diversion programs. It's all gone. It's all, it's not available with this administration. But what I did want to raise, and I did raise this with Allegra and Deborah, but we haven't really had an opportunity to have a conversation, because we cannot have a conversation outside of these meetings. So I know that there is an opiate abatement formula for every town, and you can go online, you can actually see it. Amherst doesn't have such a high amount, but I think it would be enough to possibly, nope, doesn't look like they would give that to you guys.
So the opioid settlement money that Amherst gets is funneled through public health.
So it goes to public health?
It's through public health. So that money sits in public health.
You mean your Board of Health for Amherst?
The public health department.
Yes.
I'm not so certain. There are, I mean, I can look it up, but there are direct funds that go directly to municipalities. DPH supposedly got a certain percentage, but there was a percentage that was supposed to go directly to towns that were affected.
Okay,
And
so
I think that's
that
Camille's
is-
point, though. It goes to
that
the
is the-
town, but through
Right.
the town's Department of Health.
right, to public health. So
Okay.
public health is the ones who are handling that. And I would equate that just as the EAPS grant went through the CREST department. So even though, so some of the things and activities that we did with the EAPS grant supported like DEI initiatives and everything else. And also we worked with some things with public health. It's because of the charter of our what we were supposed to do, or what we were to do was to work with like the BIPOC community, etc. So in order to reach those populations, we worked in conjunction with other departments and also outside agencies. So one of the things that we did fund over the winter, and again, that came very late due to the fact that the money didn't come in. And we had a very cold winter very early last year. So one of the things we did was fund some hotel stays for unhoused through Craig's Doors. But again, that money didn't come in until late, so we weren't able to do it until later.
Okay, well, I'll keep on trying to think about where to find some funds.
Thank you. I
And
put my
thank you.
feelers out all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you. Everywhere I go to whatever event, there's either a whole group of Crest members or there's you. So thank you for always being available.
Thank you.
If I may ask a question about your, I will ask after Lizette speaks. Yeah.
Sorry, Emerald. I'll
No,
be
that's
quick.
okay.
Hi, Camille.
Hi.
Just for clarification, so the example that you just gave in terms of being able to get hotel stays for individuals, was that through with the EAPS grant?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So another question that I was going to ask is examples of things that you will no longer be able to do since you don't have this grant, and I guess that's a pretty good example of what you will not be able to do.
That one of the things that also to fund the vet breakfasts, again, that are 30 people plus that come. What we're going to do is our senior volunteer, Eugene Herman, Gene, is soliciting donations. We did receive $300 in donations from Cooley Dickinson so that we can apply for the vet breakfast. That actually came in to us for the vet breakfast in support. So those are the type of things. The Crest Connections, we won't be able to fund that. So we're actively looking for money. We're accepting, trying to figure out donations. But we are going to try to do as much as we can with what we're given.
Yeah, I see.
Is the bed breakfast the same breakfast that happens every Wednesday, or is it a different breakfast?
No, that is the, I'm not sure what breakfast that is. That's through the seniors. Is it? I'm not even sure if that's senior center, but that is in Bangs. No, the vet breakfast is on the first and third Friday, from 8 until 9:30. So
Because I'm asking because I remember when there was a Starbucks in town, one of the things that Starbucks used to give like bagels and stuff. I don't know if restaurants can you can get supplies from restaurants for your vet breakfast if they all.
that is what Gene is looking into, is that, I wrote a letter today to see what we can get for supplies. So we do have some supplies from some of the other events that we have held, cups, etc. But, the whole idea with the work that Crest is doing is sustainability. I
Yeah.
want this to be able to be continued. Um, and speaking of Friday, I will be at Atkins Farms from 8:30, is it 8:30 to 9:30? For Cup of Joe with the town manager, Paul Bockelman. So come see me.
So I appreciate that you're trying to keep Crest afloat with, doing all the activities that you're used to when you have money. But I not doing these things, not having the money and having these impacted, is I get it. It's a real impact to the community. And these are things that are very important to show to the town that because Crest doesn't have the money, we weren't able to do these things. So I do hope that, you're documenting all these things. That way, they can be presented at your next proposed budget to say that, hey, we did these things when we had somewhat bit of money and we weren't able to do these things, and here's how the community was impacted, and we need to be fully funded. And that brings me to back to the question, because we spent lot of the time at a retreat talking about how we can be very supportive of Crest and the things that we can do. And so one of the questions I wanted to ask was, do you write your own budget for your department?
No. So when I came in last year, I came in April 8th of last year. The budget was already completed, and all I had to do was, with Kat's help, was defend it. What I didn't know. This year, with Kat leaving, we have the budget is already set with a small we have a small line item for like our radios. I think we have $1,000 for office supplies. I don't remember what uniforms is. I think that's only like $2,000. Um, but we have a very slim, a very fine budget. And that was one of the things that was brought up during the budget hearing. And when I was talking about our budget, is that and the budget committee was adamant that that Crest as a whole was really good about getting grants. And that was where I was like, well, that's the problem, is that the whole idea behind the EAPS grant was it's a startup. It was not something that was supposed to be continued. It was incumbent on, the cities and towns, once these programs were started, to make them sustainable and to grow. And that is the difficulty that I'm having now, is that to make the sustainable, how is that going to look? And the original CSWG, like my brain just went. The original CSWG file had a clinician and a lived experience for response, and they wanted a team of, so that would have been 4 teams, but we only have a $600,000 budget. So how do you pay 4 clinicians, 4 lived experience, and 2 people in the office in that? So
Do you, I understand that you came in April, but 26, 27 fiscal year, do you get to write your own budget?
no. I mean, I've got a wish list for like capital improvements, but as I've already been cut down to sit there and say, okay, I need another $400,000 to be able to hire clinicians to go out with my responders, is not going to happen. I mean, it's a pipe dream.
So I imagine, I mean, the entire budget should be public,
It is.
which would mean Crest budget will be public too. But, you know, I did commit to doing more advocacy for Crest between now and the next budget cycle. So yes, but it may be a pipe dream, but I think if anything, you should send it to us. Like send to us what that your true Crest budget for you think would make it truly successful should be. And as much of a pipe dream as it may be, I think we should try.
Mhm.
Without saying it's a pipe dream, we're not gonna get it, but you should send us what you believe would be. And again, to your earlier point, startup grants are not budget. Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
startup grants are not budget. So, send us, what everyone has their true budget. I think you should, as a department head, have, now that you're in there fully, see what your department needs. You should put forth a comprehensive budget and allow us to help you advocate for it.
Okay. Well, and that was one of the things that was asked of, is what were the things that you need? And I said that, 2 clinicians at a minimum, and I think that would help. And also some of the things that were talked about, I was looking at my job description today, and it was talking about how a person hired should be able to do case management and to be, as I call it again, the mortar and building blocks, to work with other departments. So that part's already been done. But to be able to fully integrate into the community, we do need more mental health support than just myself as a clinician, because I am relied on, daily as a clinician and a director, and I'm only one person. So I have myriad duties that I have to work around to make sure things are taken care of. And being someone who has spent their life in public service, it's difficult.
Imagine so. Yeah. Mhm.
So
I see Erica's hand. Yeah.
thanks, Errol. So that said, I know there was also conversation at town council about an evaluation. I think this committee needs to really strongly advocate that there really shouldn't be an evaluation until CRESS has fully funded staff, including an implementation staff or an assistant director, because it just isn't fair to evaluate CRESS at a point where they don't have enough. They don't have the staff that was laid out in the LEAP report, unless the people who did the LEAP report come back and evaluate what's going on because they've got a context. But I think, it's really all of our concern, again, my assumption, that it's going to be used against CRESS versus to help build CRESS to where it's supposed to be.
So,
So I'm going to say about the LEAP report. So when I was in New York and at the Alternatives Conference, I actually met up with Amos. He sought me out actually, and they don't actually do these reports. They use like information that's already, like, they gather the information and create it from what's already there. So right now they're in the process of doing statistics and figuring out what other municipalities are doing with their alternative response units. So as you know, in Massachusetts, the only two that are, CRESS is the only one that is truly standalone, an individual, and Northampton is also, but they're under public health. But we are a third branch of public safety. Like many of the others do co-response or a hybrid. Cambridge is standalone, but they only respond to dispatch. So that's where the difference is that we have people come in, we have emails, we have phone calls, and also that's the other thing that, again, getting all the information and getting things finished for being fully on dispatch.
I don't necessarily think that, I mean, town council is qualified to evaluate CRESS. It's they're when you hear the questions they ask about CRESS, it is very obvious they have no knowledge of CRESS or what CRESS does or the data runnings of CRESS. So for them to come in and evaluate, I don't think that there is any benefit to them doing so. And again, I don't think at this stage they're qualified. And to Erica's point, not appropriately funding CRESS, to come in and say, you guys are not doing this, we need to be prepared to say, you are absolutely correct, we're not doing this, or CRESS is not doing this, and here's why, and this is where, and this is a direct result, direct action, or inaction of town council and town manager. Yeah.
So this is why it was important for me to do like the year-end report. Also the reports that I do with the town manager, and also when I go out and speak to people. And as Erica said, I go to many events and talk to many people. And that is, I mean, the first part of when I came was to straighten out the department and meet the key players, etc. And now my goal is to really get it out there. What are the benefits of CRESS? So that come next budget season and come the spring, that I can give town council a fully comprehensive report. Because even though I did a report and it was available, I highly doubt many people read it. I mean, I presented it here and it maybe got some play in the newspaper, but only the people who are really interested in either support or the downfall. So reaching the middle ground is one of my goals.
Okay.
And the other thing is that I've also heard from folks that were wholeheartedly against Crest and found out through meeting us and being able to obtain services and us doing the diversion and setting them up with services and other people that they didn't know that were out there. I mean, for example, today I got a call about an elder who this person is a friend of, and they're worried about them, and they're pretty much agoraphobic, which means they don't want to go outside, and what can be done. And because of their age, I suggested like Highland Valley. I also set them up with information about Neighbor to Neighbor. So this is helping our elders. And the other things happening is like the problems with people at the pools. They don't want to call the police. So Cress is there to come over and speak to the individuals who are causing chaos. So that's diversion.
Yes, it is. Anything else on Crest? Thank you, Camille.
Okay, thank you.
So I think Pamela covered resident oversight, youth empowerment. So I think we can skip those and jump to retreat update.
Do you want me to do that?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we had a wonderful meeting at our retreat, and we had decided at that this time around we should just have committee members. We had hoped that we'd have the committee totally full, all the vacancies filled, but we still have a few vacancies. We were able to get to know each other better. We focused on, how do we want to work together, reviewing what the Community Safety Working Group had recommended as recommendations for this committee, what our mission is, and what our goals are. So what we did is we reviewed all the different recommendations and discussed what has been accomplished and what needs to be accomplished. And we actually came out with an action plan. So I don't know if you want me to go over what it is that we decided to do.
I don't necessarily think we need the bullet by bullet, but
Yeah.
if there are high level action plans, then we can just discuss the high level action plans or just list the high level ones.
Well, why do you want to? So I'm not all speaking. Why don't you and Lisette jump in terms of your takeaways from our retreat?
I can do that. So first, I want to thank Philip, who helped us with space and food and getting us in and parking. So again, thank you to Philip and DEI for helping us with that. The biggest takeaway, go ahead, Erica.
And Camille as well. Camille
Camille.
actually went out and got the food for us. Philip actually spent his Saturday there to make sure we had access to it. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that Camille went out and actually bought the food to have Philip make it available to us.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Camille. Yeah.
Collaboration.
Yes. So the biggest takeaways was, there was a genuine consensus or genuine concern from other committee members and a consensus as to what can we do together as a whole to help Crest. And so the takeaway from that meeting was essentially how do we speak with key stakeholders and about Crest, inform, educate about Crest, and how do we make Crest be seen as value-based, not just for the town, but the community as a whole. And so we've decided, or, certain people took certain roles as to what they were going to, who they're going to speak to, what departments are going to be responsible for. And essentially, each group of people is responsible for supporting Crest through a different lens within town staff and town committees. And so, without getting into the minute details, that's what we spent the time doing, essentially saying, here are some key groups that we need to reach out to for the benefit of Crest. And here are the people who are going to take on these responsibilities and make sure that Crest is at the forefront of their thought process and how to better support Crest. And so we have a list of takeaway items of things to do. We committed to having another in person. And so I think between that last meeting and the next meeting, those are goals as to what we've done between those meetings to say, here is either progress that we've made or impediments that we've run through. And then in this next meeting, we can talk about how do we, capitalize on progress, or how to talk through how do we get across those impediments. So that was the general theme of our retreat. It was essentially focused on how can we be more supportive of Crest and who do we need to talk to. And that goes back to my earlier conversation is, with your budget is a real thing. Your budget is a real thing. And part of that conversation was how to get Crest properly funded and more money. And so, we had ideas around that and we had things to do around that. So, and that goes back to my point to say, don't call it a pipe dream. If this is what you truly believe should be your full budget, put it on paper, send it to us. And while we talk to these stakeholders, we want to have that conversation with them, knowing that the budget process is some time away, but we're hitting the ground early to say, you cut funding for this very important department. And here is, they were operating very nimbly with this little amount of money. But if you want them to be fully successful, this is where they need to be. And here is why allocating this money for them is in the town's best interest. Yeah. So that was a retreat from a very high level.
That was very well worded.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know if you guys want to add anything else. Yeah.
If I can just add, and this I mentioned before, really wasn't my idea. It was an idea from one of our wonderful community members that always tends our meeting. But since people are going to be running for town council, we should come up with questions, especially how are they going to support Crest? That I think, we can come up with some specific questions, but I think this is the time to really, since there's going to be a change in town council members, that we should really be at the forefront of making sure that we get those questions out there, not only to see, who is actually going to support Crest in order for us to vote for them, but also then to get that information out there publicly for those who may not even, have really thought about it as part of their running platform.
I think that's a very good idea. And two, for people who are running for re-election, we should have them justify their no vote on the Crest budget. We should have them explain to us why, they voted the way they did. Was it just, a rubber stamp, or did you actually really consider or fully appreciate what you were voting against when you voted to cut Crest's funding? So yes, I agree. We should have those questions, and maybe we add that to the next agenda item when everyone's here to start brainstorming those kinds of questions for the next cycle.
Just out of transparency, I did ask town council president, and I don't want to speak for her, but what I believe I heard was the town manager did not want to lay anybody off. So by freezing vacant positions, he was not going to lay anybody off. I think where we really have to focus is reallocation of resources, because what I pointed out in both the finance committee as well as town council, my emails, I wasn't very eloquent in terms of my presentation, but in my email was that in the budget language, CRESS was not included in language that said that APD and the fire department can continue recruiting. So if they have vacancies that they can continue recruiting for, then we have to really think about reallocation. And that was the recommendation of the Community Safety Working Group. It wasn't about increasing budgets, but reallocating resources equitably, and that would then have a positive impact both on APD and the fire department, allowing them to do their job and allowing CRESS to do its community diversion, so it doesn't even get to the point where someone's violent or out of control. So I think, we just have to think about the language that we're going to use so they don't come back and say, well, we did it because of this, and rationalize it.
I understand, and that makes sense. Okay, I think we talked about getting a meeting with town council. Was there more you wanted to add to that? Okay, I didn't think so. So with that, we go to our second public comments. I do not see where we have more attendees or anyone joined within the last hour, but I will just say if there are any members in the public who wishes to make a public comment, please raise your hand, or if you're dialing via telephone, I do believe you press the *9 on your phone to be recognized.
Martha Hanner has her hand up.
Okay, and I am a co-host, so I can do this. I will allow Martha Hanner to talk.
Thank you. It's Martha Hanner from District 5. I'm the voice you hear, right? And I couldn't agree more with everything that both Everald and Erica have said about the status of CRESS and the needs. And so let me say a couple of things. First of all, it seems to me that most people in Amherst and the council members really have no idea of all the different things that CRESS does. And it was clear from that finance committee meeting that Erica and I both listened to, that they had this idea that they do this mental health, and gee, why couldn't they just ride along with the police? And so it's really a lot of education work that needs to be done, I think, particularly to the council members, with examples of all these varied things that Camille has described. And then I would say that because of this meeting on Friday, if at all possible for you to get to Atkins between 8 and 9:30, it would be an opportunity to say to Paul, what is your plan for getting CRESS up and functional? And what is your plan for getting them to be able to function between 4 and 8 p.m. when we all know that that's when they're most needed? Let's see. Then the fact that apparently Paul is going to do this evaluation report, and as you've said, it's a terrible way to do it when CRESS is does not have the tools that they should have, and that needs to be pointed out. but I have some other information from talking to people. If any of you individually would like to have a contact with me, my email is mhanner@umass.edu if you should want to talk with me. I had some more insights from talking with a couple of the Finance Committee members, for example. So thank you for all you do, and I think this is really important for us to figure out, good ways and positive ways to support CRESS.
Thank you, Martha. If there are any other members of the public who wish to speak, we are very good on time, so if you do want to speak, you are more than welcome to do so. But I do not see any hands, so again, thank you. And with that, are there any items not anticipated that did not make its way to the agenda that we wish to discuss? Erica?
I know that Ms. Pamela Young talked a little bit about the Youth Empowerment Center. I raised that with Paul, that there are rumors that funding no longer exists. And someone explained to me that once it goes to cash funds, I think, then it gets used for other things. He did not say they weren't available. He did not say they were available. But I think we need to, I think Paul would be open to having a meeting with Allegra and Deborah. I think they should follow up and see if they could have a meeting with him, because I think that'd be really important to find out what are the plans. If those funds are no longer available, then what are the plans from Amherst to find it? So I think we need some resolution around that, because I think we've been operating with they're still available. And my sense from listening to people is that what was in existence for ARPA is no longer there. So I just wanted to raise that.
Thank you. We are at the end of our agenda. And so I would entertain a motion to adjourn for tonight.
I will make a motion to adjourn for this evening and want to thank Everald for facilitating the meeting.
Thank you. And I will second your motion. And I do not believe the motion is debatable. So with that, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for keeping this very short and sweet. And at 7:53, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you and good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.